And welcome back to part 42 of Final Fantasy XV, where we're starting the final boss gauntlet. There's several bosses in a row we're going to be fighting all the way to the credits from this point onwards, making up today, tomorrow and Wednesday's parts. But we are at the end game, folk. We are here. As we approach the gate of the citadel, we'll be greeted with the guard dog Cerberus, or Kerberus if you want to pronounce it wrong. Cerberus is level 45 with 103,400 HP, a strength stat of 13,594, vitality of 220, spirit of 185. It takes 20% weakness to great sword and shield, so if you have them, use them, and takes 20% weakness to ice and light, so you might be worth using the ring if you want to for the dodges for the extra holy damage. It's also completely immune to fire and has a 25% resistance to lightning. So keep that in mind when you're fighting it. Additionally, it's unmentioned whether it is weak, neutral, resistant or immune to death, alternate or stop. But for the sake of argument, I'm going to assume it's immune until proven otherwise because it's a boss enemy. A boss enemy that has cutscenes in the middle and at the end, so it would be too important for you to just be able to alternate it. It is immune to poison though. Killing it will also always drop the Tri-Head Heart, which is an amazing thing for building immunities towards fire and a great tool for the boss fight immediately after this. But we'll get to it when we get to it. The strategy of Cerberus is just be wary of the fact that if you're in front of it, it's wrecking the hell out of you. Remember the Cerberus fight in Kingdom Hearts 2? Where it was like attacking the heads was the best thing to do, but at the same time if you was at the heads, it would just bite at you and it would do a lot of damage. It's a similar deal. You can attack the legs and the rest of the body, but you won't be really doing anything compared to attacking the head. But when you're attacking the head, you're putting yourself in a very dangerous position. Additionally, when it tries to climb up and get an additional aerial spot on you, you can warp strike it to get to a high position to attack it. Unfortunately though, you're not going to see me do the full animation because I failed the parry timing in the last hit. Because I wasn't expecting it. There. I just didn't expect it. I was expecting to warp strike again, so I'd lose my chance. Every time it gets to full animation, it will do an AoE when it slams the ground. That hurts like hell and hits everyone. As you saw, it kind of grounded Prompto there. But unlike most boss fights in the game, you can actually flee this fight. If you got here too early and are unprepared for it, you can retreat and leave the fight. However, it does affect your access to some of the side quests, which is why I made adamantly clear that you shouldn't approach this thing until you've done everything you want to do. But it can also circle the battlefield as a whole, which is pretty terrifying in its own sake because it moves quite quickly. It is a dog at the end of the day. And you also have to deplete its whole HP twice, so technically you're not working with 103,400, you're working with 206,800 because you have to do its whole HP twice. When you deplete it a first time, a cutscene will play out and then you'll have to do it a second time, and it will have new attacks when we get to it. Additionally, Prompto's Piercer might be really helpful for this fight, his technique, because it will also double up as a debuff for its lowest defense. And with Ignis, if you've got Elemency equipped, you know, it's weak to ice. Ignis is going to be throwing ice at it all the time. So all in all, you can actually use your whole team with it, because Gladio will act as your defense against a lot of this fight, Prompto can act as a debuffer, and Ignis is your elemental attack. I'm talking over this cutscene because there's a lot of other cutscenes yet to go that I won't be talking over. But when you get to this point, a circular flame arena will be made. Now you cannot escape the fight, you have to play this out to the end. But good old Core will join you for the second phase of this fight, which is so badass that you get one more run with Core after everything you've been through. When you think that he was with us at the start of chapter 2 to help us get the first Royal Arms, and now he's here helping us make the final push. Like, I really wish the Core became a main party member, because it would have been so badass to have Core around as a main party member. And having a team of 5 is not unnatural for the Final Fantasy franchise, for goodness sake. In Final Fantasy 4 we had a team of 5, we can do it again. Well, I say that, it's been a miracle in its own place that we even got a team of 4. Because when you think since Final Fantasy 7, pretty much every Final Fantasy since then has been a team of 3. With 13 being the biggest prime example of it. Well, 12 and 13, because you only had a team of 6 total, so it was 3 main 3 subs for the whole thing. But with Cerberus' second phase, the main way to keep it in mind is just its attacks hurt more and it moves a bit faster. But all the stat layout for it is exactly the same. And you've also got Korth with you, so the fight should technically take longer, be quicker even. And then I failed the parrying, so I wasn't ready for it. And the music changes again. This is one of the Royal Edition's extra themes, similar to Insomnia Ablaze as well. And they're all great tracks. Like, Yoko did an amazing job, and I can't wait to hear her performance for Kingdom Hearts 3. What's it doing? Okay, we can also use Meteor in the second phase. I forgot to mention, should have mentioned it sooner. Meteor is a kind of infamous spell in the Final Fantasy franchise, but it's really not that powerful in this one. It's kind of understated how powerful it used to be. Because back in the good old days, the most powerful spell in the game was Flare, but then in Final Fantasy IV they added Meteor and made Meteor the most powerful spell because it would hit as powerful as Flare, but several times. This is just one straight rock that it fires at you, so it's closer to Comet, a spell that was introduced in later Final Fantasies to be a weaker version of Meteor. But it is technically called Meteor, but it's just, if it was many raining down on us, then it would be Meteor. What Arden did to set the whole of Insomnia Ablaze is a lot closer to what Meteor should be. And then in Final Fantasy VI they introduced Ultima, and ever since then Ultima has been the most powerful spell. Also, Prompto missed that shot, which is why it didn't give me an additional prompt. If you don't get the extra prompt, it's either because the character completely missed or the enemy was entirely out of range for you to attack. But this fight hasn't got much left. But as soon as it goes down, we will be having a very chunky cutscene. That is by far my favourite cutscene Royal Edition adds. Like the cutscene that we had to give a nod to all the Conrad players, I absolutely adored, I've already mentioned. But this cutscene coming up is just a complete fan service moment that's just badass from start to finish. As we survive another comet. I eventually just decided to use the Mega Elixir to pull through. Because I was in the mentality when recording this of, well, it's a Final Fantasy game. All these items I've been hoarding, it's the final bosses, I should really be using them. So that's what you're going to see me do. From this point onwards until the end of the game, I'm going to start using my items a little bit more plentiful because it's the end of the game. Like, if you're not going to use them now, when are you going to use them? But that being said, Cerberus's HP is just about empty, so I'm going to shut up and let the best cutscene in Royal Edition play out.
Looks like even the immortal has his limits. I failed you, Highness.
You haven't.
It has been the highest honor to serve the two finest kings Lucis has ever known.
I am honored to have fought at your side, Marshal.
Perhaps we'll meet again at daybreak.
Looks like there's no way past the wall. There's way too many of them!
And no way out of this either.
Still, you can't just give up now. Luna!
Gods above, hear my plea. Lend the chosen king your strength, that he may save our star from darkness blight.
The lady's words have reached the heavens. By the will of the oracle and the grace of the gods, a path for the king is made.
Luna. Thank you.
The fate of our star rests with you now, my king.
Talk about divine intervention.
Oh, feels good to know the gods are fighting on our side.
They even trusted the future to you, Noct.
Yeah. Wouldn't want to let him down now.
Just the idea of all the summons coming together for one last push to help get Noctis through is such a cool fan servicey moment to long-time Final Fantasy fans, to see all these famous summons come together. It was just so cool to see, and I wanted to highlight just it was my favourite scene and that Royal Edition added. But that being said, we also got our final scene with Luna. Our final proper in-the-game scene of Luna they added to the Royal Edition, which gives her more character and more heart and more emotion in that little bit there than I felt she had for most of the game. Which is a shame, really. I think that's the biggest disappointment I have, is how little they did with Luna Freya's relationship with Noctis. Luna Freya felt like a very non-existent character that was just there to be a giant tool for the plot. Which just shouldn't have ever been like that, but it's what we ended up with, unfortunately. But that being said, we've got another cutscene ahead of us, so I'm going to have to shut up again. But look how tall this place is. You remember the Platinum demo? But right at the very, very, very start, this is where we were. We've made a complete full circle now.
Ifrit, the Infernian. He doesn't share the Glacian's fondness for mankind. But you can expect a warm welcome. I shall await you above.
Stay cool. He's gonna bring the heat.
Hang in there, buddy! Stay down! We'll keep him busy!
Noct! Over here! Quickly! Before he strikes again!
Here it comes! I got your back!
Here you go. Let's go!
And now you can see what they were trying to do. Right at the start of the game, this was the fight that they were hinting towards and highlighting, that the last of the 6 deities would not obey us and instead followed Arden and fought against us, that being Ifrit, the Pyro Burner. I'm not going to go through the stat list just yet because this opening to the fight is very different to how the rest of the fight will work, and there's not an actual proper stat list for just this first phase. But this first phase is also extremely short, so it doesn't really matter. But we've got yet another cutscene about to kick in. That's another pretty damn cool cutscene that the deities are going to pull off for us. And after all of that, thanks Bahamut, but Ifrit is not dead. All we did was crack its horn and get him out of his chair. So now we can do the proper stat list. Ifrit is level 46 with 99,500 HP, a strength stat of 18,070, vitality of 255, and spirit of 1,023. He is neutral to every main weapon, but has a 50% weakness to ice. Additionally, if you hit him with ice, he will lose his fire coating, which will make him take slightly extra damage from every physical weapon. Sort of like right now, where he's not on fire. When he's on fire, said putting him out will be using ice. Or having Ignis use ice. Because I said now when he's not on fire, he seems to be doing a lot less damage to him. He's immune to death, immune to stop, and immune to poison, but worth noting, he's only resistant to Alterna. You can Alterna his ass if you get lucky enough. Which I think's ridiculous, but you can do it. He is made up of 99.9% fire according to his stat list. I don't think that means much other than the obvious immunity to fire, but you could probably work that out just by looking at him. He's also very capable of inflicting burn. That's the main way he's going to be hurting you during this fight. Every single attack he does will inflict burn on you, which is essentially a fancy way of saying fire poison, because it will just be knocking off HP for you, but it's a little bit more consistent and lasts a little longer than poison. So take it as like a more serious, more immediately effective poison. This battle does have unique link strikes as well. This is technically the second of 3 phases. Halfway through, the battle theme will change again, and we'll enter the 3rd phase. During that 3rd phase, he can sometimes jump very high into the sky. If you go up with him, you can do a really cool animation of grounding him back down. Ifrit's model was also been updated over time. When it first launched, he was a lot cleaner than what he looks now. Right now, on his left side, our right, he is covered by the Curse of the Star Scourge to help imply that Arden more took over him than Ifrit just agreeing with him. It was added in patch 120 or 121, something like that. There's little other information to give. The main advice I can give is to take it down to where we did down here, because you've got more space to work with. Sitting up in the opening section where you start the fight, you don't really have as much space as you maybe want. But in the original version of Final Fantasy 15, this boss fight still existed. But Cerberus did not. This was your first opening to the final boss gauntlet. And now we're entering the 3rd phase as the music changes once again to such a beautiful theme. Ifrit's theme, Hellfire, is one of the best in the game. It's such a masterpiece of a theme, especially because it also references a lot of other themes in the franchise. Quite subtly, but it does. The only one that's obvious is the last piece of this theme that plays, which is quite blatantly Prelude, the opening theme to every Final Fantasy in existence. Well, minus 13, but then 13 was doing its own little dumb thing. But we're nearly there as the music gets more optimistic and more hopeful and energetic. Because it started out very intimidating if you're listening to it. But as the fight comes to an end, I'm going to let you listen to the last piece of this music and let the end play out. So that being said, next time on Final Fantasy 15, we're continuing our final boss gauntlet as we'll be entering the Citadel. But until then, you guys take care now.
May your soul know peace at last. King of Kings. The grace of the gods is with you always.
I made a promise. One that I intend to keep.